Let's get some medical answers from a physician that actually knows the president. I always think that that's helpful. Dr. Ronny Jackson, former physician to Presidents Trump and Obama, and now a Texas Republican congressional candidate. Great to see you today.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate you having me.
So I have a couple of questions, just kind of, let's go backwards a little bit. I know the campaign and the White House haven't wanted to do it, but it is important to know the last time the president tested negative before his diagnosis for contact tracing, so on and so forth. So tell me just medically, when we know that date, how you count forward and you say, yeah, he's probably going to test negative again on such and such date. Do we know?
No, we don't know, and I don't think that really matters. I mean, that's irrelevant at this point. You know, the whole 10 to 14 days is based on somebody who's asymptomatic who tests negative. The president was positive. He had the virus. So all we really need to know for the president is that he's asymptomatic and that he's been that way for a few days and that he has 2 negative tests, that are at least 24 hours apart. And he's going to get that. They're going to get multiple tests that are going to be negative with a confirmatory test. And, he's going to be completely ready to go back to his normal routine before they put him back in that situation. So that's what they're looking at right now.
Dr. Jackson, that's really important to know. So 2 negative tests, 24 hours apart. There has been some reaction to the president on air last night with Sean Hannity, and I know that it's a respiratory illness, and I'm reading that it may also take the body some time to clear some of the things that were inside them. It's a cold, basically, coronavirus, but yeah. A huge case of it, obviously, and it takes all of us some time. Tell me about the later stages of coronavirus, this novel one.
Well, the problem we have with this particular coronavirus is that typically the later stage is a big inflammatory stage. That's where a lot of the problems come from the pulmonary standpoint. And most of the people that succumb to that, that's it. Ultimately, what the problem is the inflammatory, the immune response of their own body attacking, their lungs. But that's not happening to the president. The president's been completely asymptomatic. And, they've given him a few things, including the steroids that he's taken to prevent that inflammatory process, so that inflammatory phase from ever taking place. So that's why they're continuing to watch him right now to make sure that there's no evidence of that. There's not. He's afebrile. Mm-hmm. He has no symptoms. And like I said, as soon as he gets a couple of back-to-back tests, he's going to be right back out there on the campaign trail. And I think that's the right thing to do. It's going to really reassure the public as well.
I want to hit the timeline in this way, if we can. White House physician Dr. Sean Connolly did say this on Monday about the timeline for concern about the president's health. Let's watch together.
We're in a bit of uncharted territory when it comes to a patient that received the therapies he has so early in the course. So we're looking to this weekend. If we can get through to Monday with him remaining the same or improving, better yet, then we will all take that final deep sigh of relief.
Dr. Jackson, your reaction to that?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think, they're waiting to see what happens. They know when they gave him his last dose of medications. They know when those are out of his system. They're going to be reassured that he's still symptom-free. Dr. Connolly's not making these determinations in a vacuum. He's got expert infectious disease experts and other folks from all over this country, from the world's, from the country's leading academic centers that are chiming in and helping him with this decision. So this is you can feel confident that if the president gets back onto the campaign trail, he's safe to be out there.
I have another just kind of lane of questions for you, because I'm sure that you maybe dip in on other networks or hear some of the criticism against the president saying, well, once he is out there, how contagious is he? It has been shown that this can stay in your system for spread. And people may be eating lunch, so I don't want to exactly say how that is. And you might still test negative. I mean, how do we know how far out he needs to be for this when you've got, members of the debate commission, when he does another in person? Hopefully that will happen.
Well, that's why we're doing the follow-on testing. They'll do testing. They'll do confirmatory testing. If there's no viral RNA in his nasal passages where they're testing, then he's not going to be infectious. And like I said, yeah, so they're going to test him aggressively, and I think they will not put him out and expose anyone to him if he's infectious. You can be guaranteed of that. So if he's out on the campaign trail, he's been deemed to be safe to himself and to everyone else around him.
All right, so more good news, because when you hear the president is doing well, that's the first check of good news. What have we learned about those drugs that were used at Walter Reed, and what can help other people? And maybe, I know the president talked about Regeneron and possibly getting that out into the bloodstream of America through hospitals and whatnot at no cost. But there were some other things that they hit him with. What have we learned, and what can we, expense-wise, get out to Americans?
Well, we're still in the exploratory phase on figuring out what medications actually have a big impact on the morbidity and the mortality of this disease. Now, we don't know for sure that the president wouldn't be in the same condition he's in right now without those medications. A lot of people get minor symptoms, move on, and have no problems. But he did get these medications. The monoclonal antibody cocktail that he got is pretty novel. It's out there. It's been deemed in the past to be pretty harmless as far as side effects go, because we've used it for a lot of things in medicine. So I think the president's leading by example. Again, he's out on the tip of this spear, and he's not afraid to trust the scientists on these issues and be the person to take some of these medications. So as time goes on, more people, now that the president's had them, will probably get some of these medications. We'll get more information on them. And I'm sure the president is already with the Warp Speed program. They're already making sure that they're manufacturing this stuff to get it out and overcome the logistics as soon as they determine that it's something that they can push out to everybody.
All right. And I know one of those drugs, remdesivir, I believe, is made in your home state of Texas. So we'll be watching to see how people do with that and how much more of it we can get out and lower the cost. Dr. Ronny Jackson, so great to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Harris.